Hi there, I am Katy Hoffstatter and I am a yearbook rep in Jacksonville, Florida, and I am so excited to talk to you guys a little bit about color today. I am a little bit obsessive about yearbook. I love yearbook a ton. I love helping schools with their yearbooks, and design is kind of one of the parts of yearbook that I love the most, and a big part of design is color. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more today about color and how to use it, not abuse it. So let's talk a little bit about color today, how to use it and not abuse it. I talked in my course description about how I love Skittles, but I do not want to taste the rainbow when I flip through your yearbook. I am a bright, colorful person. I know you don't know me, but if you knew me, you'd know my wardrobe is colorful, my personality is colorful. I love neon colors, but I don't want to flip through every page of your yearbook and see a different neon colored background. That's just not how we do it. So we're going to talk a little bit today about color theory, how to create a color scheme for your yearbook, and how to use it throughout the book in a smart and tasteful way. So a little bit of Color 101, we're going to talk about primary and secondary and tertiary colors, and how our color schemes are all based on basically the three primary colors. So a little bit of Color 101. You guys probably already know red, blue, and yellow are our primary colors. You can't combine any colors to create red, yellow, or blue. Just like a prime number, a primary color. Then there are secondary colors. Those are formed by combining any two of the three primaries. So that gives you orange, purple, and green. You can see what they're made up of over there, but I'm sure you guys already know about that. Now we're going to get a little bit more complex. Tertiary colors are created when a primary color mixes with a secondary color that comes next to it on the color wheel. That's the important part of these tertiary colors, is it has to be a secondary color that's right next to it on the color wheel. The reason for this is because if you go across or pick a different combination, then it can end up this muddy brown color. Now, if you're going for muddy brown color, then great. But if not, if you want one of these magenta, violet, teal, chartreuse, then you're going to want to choose a primary color, mix it with the secondary color that's next to it on the color wheel. Okay, so we talked about primary, secondary, tertiary. Now is where things are going to get a little bit complicated. So let's dive into this. I know that there's a lot packed into this graphic. So we're going to talk about hue, tint, tone, and shade. Hue is the purest form of any of those primary, secondary, or tertiary colors. It's like basically that color at 100%. Tint is that pure color plus white, so a little bit lighter of a shade. Tone is the hue, which is the pure color, plus white and black. So that kind of muddies it up and grays it up a little bit. Then shade is that pure color, the hue, plus black, so a darker version. So you kind of have 4 different shades, I'm using the term shade, but 4 different versions or chromas of the same color. As a general rule, when you're creating a color palette, you wouldn't want to pull all colors from the same ring of the circle. So as you're looking at this, you don't want to pick all colors that are in that second ring, the tint ring, because they're all going to kind of have that same intensity. You want to sort of mix and match with maybe one pure version of the color plus a little darker tone plus maybe a really dark shade and then a light tint. Having those different versions of the colors is going to create a really nice, visually appealing color scheme. There are exceptions to that rule, but that's just kind of a general guideline. So I hear you all asking right now, Katy, what does this even have to do with the yearbook? You're talking about tones and tints. What does that have to do with yearbook world? And let me tell you, it is all about your theme. So the theme of your yearbook is what is going to dictate your color scheme. You shouldn't start with colors and then pick a theme. You start with the theme and then you work through fonts and colors and graphics. So Let's talk about what kind of theme it is. Do you have a school spirit theme or an anniversary theme? Is it the 50th year of your school or the 25th edition of your yearbook? Is it about change? Something is new this year, maybe new principal, maybe new school location. Do you have a fun or themey theme? We've had schools that have done like a Snapchat theme. To me, that's like a themey theme. Is it a reaction or a conversational theme? Is it about unity or diversity? Those are just some of the main ones that we can dig into a little bit more. So school color themes are pretty easy. You're going to use your school colors. For example, hold up, wait a minute, let me put some purple in it. Their school color is not green. It's purple, okay? Out of the blue, who wants to guess what their school color is, right? The American, probably red, right? Maybe red, white, and blue. We'll see when we get inside their book. School color themes are really easy because you're going to use your school color, okay? Not much creativity to be involved there unless you're choosing a different, tint or hue or shade of the school colors if you're getting creative. Some of your other themes, this is where your other colors come into play. Notice there's some that are more like retro. The You Just Had to Be There kind of gives me retro 70s vibes. The Vibe book has like bright fluorescent colors, so does Woe Factor. Then Focus has some of those warm tones. A little bit more subdued colors. So lots of different options for your yearbook. There are a few different color schemes you can use. Monochromatic, analogous, complementary, split complementary, triadic, and tetradic. Now, I'm not going to dig into these too much, but I do want to kind of skim over them so you know what these words mean. So the monochromatic color scheme is basically different tones, shades, and tints of a hue. So remember we said the hue is like that color at 100%. Monochromatic is that color with white, with black, with white and black. And it creates this monochromatic look. So here's a couple books that have that monochromatic color scheme. The Dear Donovan one has all shades of blue, and then you can see in 455, which I'm assuming is their area code, they've got just shades of red and then black and white. Pretty much white or black or white and black are always going to be loosely part of your color scheme just because the paper is usually white and your text is usually black. So sometimes people stray away from that and get creative and use navy or use brown for like their type in the book. That's up to you, but as a general rule of thumb, obviously I know that red cover has white and black on it. I don't really count those. Analogous color schemes are created by using 3 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. Now, I know that can be a little bit confusing, and you're like, wait, which colors were next to each other on the color wheel? So I put this graphic here. You can screenshot it if you want. It's a good reference for what those trios of color are, and we can see a little bit how that's used in a yearbook in a second. But I wanted to show you this graphic because these are all 3 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So you'll see down here, it's got the blue-green. So these are the blue, the teal, and the green, which are 3 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. But the top color palette is all of those colors at their true hue. So they're 100% intensity. It's a little bit jarring, right? When you look at that, you're like, ooh, okay. Having those brights all together, it's a little bit overwhelming for our eyes. But beneath it are those same 3 colors, but by using different chromas of the color. So you'll notice instead of the bright green, 100% green, they went ahead and they made it a little darker by adding black. So now it's more of a hunter green. The blue on the other side of the spectrum, instead of being that true blue, has been lightened up. So they've got the teal in the center that sort of stayed right there at that 100% hue, but then they darkened it and lightened it on either other end of the spectrum to create a more dynamic color scheme. So when you're looking at these two, I'm pretty sure if you're anything like me, you much prefer the bottom one. Here's a cover that kind of shows those examples of the three colors next to each other on the color wheel. So we've got the cool tones and the warm tones to sort of show you two contrasting theme ideas. Complementary colors, I'm sure you've heard the word complementary just in your day-to-day life, talking about two things that complement each other, right? Color schemes can be complementary as well, and it's by combining colors from opposite sides of the color wheel. In their most basic form, these schemes consist of only two colors, but like we talked about with the blue, teal, green example, they can be greatly expanded using tones, tints, and shades. The reason why that's important is because for this specific example, you can see these complementary color schemes. If you look closely at like the red square with the green in it, it's almost like it's vibrating. That's how bright the colors are. Our brain just has like trouble processing these two bright complementary colors right on top of each other. So it's important that when you're choosing a complementary color scheme, you do expand it by using different tones, tints, and shades. Here's an example of this. So much more appealing to the eye are these different versions of complementary color schemes. So you can see in this previous example, the bottom one, orange and blue, go Gators, right? So both of these top two color palettes are using that orange and blue complementary color scheme, but instead they're using different tones, tints, and shades to create a little bit more dynamic, visually appealing color scheme. Those different chromas really bring in a good mix. You'll notice for almost all of these, what they've done is they've lightened a tone and they've darkened or lightened a hue and darkened a hue to kind of create a dark, middle, and light version of colors in the color scheme. That creates a really nice balanced look. Here's a couple of schools that used complementary color schemes. They've got the red and the teal and the purple and the orange, purpley yellow. Those are both complementary color schemes. Color triads and tetradic color scheme. Sorry, that's a little bit of a tongue twister. Those are made up of hues that are equally spaced around the color wheel. I'm not going to dive too much into this because it's very involved and you kind of have a lot to remember as far as which colors are perfectly spaced. That's a lot for your brain to handle, but you can either A, screenshot this, or B, just trust your gut, okay? Most schemes you make will end up being triadic just because that's kind of what our eye goes towards. These are all good examples of triadic color schemes that use those different hues and tints to create a dynamic look. Notice once again, none of these are at 100% the pure color. There's just some variations in there to create some visual interest. Here's a couple of books that show that triadic color scheme. So obviously the most basic triad are your primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, and that's what that hero book uses. So let's talk a little bit about color in the yearbook. We now know how color ties into our theme, but how do we then take that theme and carry it out throughout the book? So we talked about the American and how their color was probably red, and lo and behold, you flip open their book, what do they have? A duotoned red photo. If I was to flip through the rest of this yearbook, I know that I would be seeing a lot of red. That was their main color, probably a monochromatic color scheme, which means what? Yep, just one color used throughout the book with different shades and tints and hues of that same color. Out of the Blue was another one of the school color themes I showed you guys earlier. Open up the book, surprise, surprise, more blue. One thing they did to even focus that blue on even more is, I don't know if you guys can tell, but that picture is actually in black and white, and only the blue parts of the picture are in color and have some color saturation to them. I really like that effect, especially if your theme literally has a color name in it. We're all about vibes nowadays. This colorful vibe yearbook, Vibe With Us, when you open it up, they've got more bright colors. What I really like is they've got that color smoke on the cover and you're like, oh, that's neat. But then when you open it up, they've actually got kids with the color smoke, which brings it to a school level. That's really important. That shows that you're just not slapping a theme on your yearbook, but you're actually choosing one that's means something to your own student body. But we're not talking about theme in this presentation, but I really like how they incorporated color. Also, notice in that body copy, they pull out individual colors from their color scheme to highlight certain words. Nice touch. Here's another one that uses that word highlighting trick, I guess, or design choice. It draws your eye to those specific little blurbs in the body copy, and it's introducing their color scheme. This is the opening spread, so this is where they're laying the groundwork for what their color scheme is throughout the whole book. I really love this spread because they've got this beautiful peachy, creamy color that they're using. Notice it's in the bar across the bottom. It's behind the headshot on the lower right hand side. It's used for the headline and mod headlines. They also incorporated gray, which is just a different shade of black. So like I said, black and white are always kind of included, but I really like how they stuck with maybe just one of their colors out of their maybe 5-color scheme to use on this page. I'm going to show you some examples later where they're using maybe 2 to 3 different colors from their color schemes combined on the page. It's up to you. My main word of advice is if you have 5, let's just say you have 5 colors in your color scheme. Let's not try and throw all 5 onto every page. This example just uses one color and look how beautiful and dynamic it looks. Okay, we don't need them all just to feel like they're jazzing up your pages. This one's really nice too. Now, obviously this picture is really eye-catching and dynamic, and that's part of the reason it stands out, but also this black, white, and yellow color scheme is just, it's so good. Already, it's just kind of like a trivia fact that yellow on black is one of the most appealing color schemes to our eyes and our brain. Subconsciously, it just is way more legible. So the fact that they're using that here, they already get bonus points, but also how it's tied in with the folio, it's really, really nice. I just love the way they use this yellow on the page. Here's an example where they've got 2 different colors on the page. So these are 2 different colors from their color scheme for their theme, and they're using it not only in their headline and with that bar, but also the drop cap and the lead into their body copy. Those same 2 colors are also in their folio, so just a really nice attention to detail. Yes, they've got black and gray and white in there too, because those are just, they come with the territory. Maybe I just really love black, white, and yellow, but this spread jumped out at me too. I like the handwritten highlighted element, which tells me why we've got the yellow on the page. There are so many other times as well, and it has such a visual impact. Notice very, very little color used on this page besides that yellow highlight. You don't need color everywhere to create a beautiful yearbook spread. But you can have yearbook spreads that have color everywhere that are also beautiful. So I like that they use this coral color paired with the teal aqua seafoam color. It's really nice. One of the things that makes this spread a good use of color, because normally I say white pages are where it's at. Unless there's something special, the background of the page needs to be white. They did leave a white border around the outside to almost frame in that color. It gives your eye just a little bit of a break and not packing it in literally bleed to bleed, but they've got that nice white border around the outside. And I think they did a good job picking 2 contrasting colors, right? These are complementary colors. You could kind of say orange and blue. It's like a different version of orange and a different version of blue. That means that they go really well together. So they were smart about their choice, and I think they used it really well on this spread. Here's a spread that has a little bit more color going on, but if you take a second and you really dig in, you'll notice that they boiled it down to the cyan color and the magenta color, or the blue and the pink. All of their mods all of the text that incorporates it is all using the same blue and pink. They do have some of these graphics on here with the colorful squares, but most of the content is using just those two colors. Those are two colors from their color scheme. They picked two that were opposite of each other, which is really great. That's what creates that nice visual contrast. Here, this one has 3 colors used on this spread, so I don't know exactly how many colors are in the color scheme for this particular school, but I see purple on this page, I see green on this page, and I see pink on this page. Upon closer look, it looks like the purple might just be in the folio, so the pink and the green are the main pieces of color that they're incorporating onto the spread. And they've almost separated it out where the green is the level 1 coverage or the main content on the page, and then they use pink for each of the 3 mods. So that's an interesting choice that they use, probably to tie into their theme, and there's a reason that they made that design choice. That's a good way to tell the reader where they're at on the page too, and what captions go with what pictures. Really well done. Good use of color. Here's another book that uses 3 colors on the spread. So they've got the purple, the lime green, and the teal. So each of those 3 colors comes together really nicely. This is actually all almost of the same hue. These colors are almost all at 100%. But they've got little different variations. This is one of those times where it works well. So even though they're all bright, they're all colors that really go together and create this nice cohesive look. They've got them tiled in the bottom right for those talking heads. They've got different caption leads in the different colors. Just a really well done way of incorporating those 3 colors into the book. And I'm wrapping it all up with just a single color spread. To me, these still have the most impact. There are other ones that look great, but I just love how the peachy pink color is pulled from that girl's shirt playing dodgeball. It's used in the pull quote. It's used in the mod over on the right-hand side. It's really tasteful. It's not everywhere. Great use of color on the page, and it actually enhances the content instead of detracting from it. So I know we talked about a lot of crazy things: tint, hue, tertiary, triadic, all of this crazy stuff. But hopefully you guys have learned some good information about color that'll help you pick your color scheme for your yearbook next year. Remember, the most important thing is when you're picking colors, you just want to choose ones that enhance your theme and enhance your design. Okay, it shouldn't be distracting. I shouldn't be able to taste the rainbow when I flip through your book. I should just be really impressed with how you used your color. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.